Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. Today, I want to talk about the phone call that every struggling person dreams of, and why it almost destroyed my family. 7 years ago, I was living paycheck to paycheck, working a retail job I hated and wondering how I was going to pay for my daughter's braces. Then, I got the call. My great-aunt Sarah had passed away, and because she had no children of her own, she'd left her entire estate to me. I went from worrying about gas money to being the owner of a $3 million portfolio overnight. I thought all my problems were over. I thought the stress was gone. But I quickly realized that while money can solve financial problems, it has a terrifying way of creating spiritual ones. If you've ever thought that just a little bit more would make you happy, you need to hear this. The first month was a blur of yeses. Yes to the new SUV. Yes to the private school tuition. Yes to the designer clothes I used to see only in magazines. It felt like I was finally exhaling after holding my breath for a decade. But a strange thing happens when your bank account swells. Your perspective on people begins to shrink. I started looking at my friends who were still struggling, and instead of feeling empathy, I felt a secret sense of superiority. I started thinking, why don't they just work harder? Why are they so stressed about a $500 repair? I forgot that I was in their shoes just 30 days prior. My focus shifted from how can I provide to how can I protect. I became obsessed with the stock market. I spent my evenings looking at tickers instead of reading to my kids. I found myself getting angry at my wife for spending $200 on groceries, even though we had millions. The money hadn't made me generous. It had made me a sentry. I was guarding a pile of gold, and I was terrified of a single coin going missing. The breaking point came during Thanksgiving. My younger brother, Mark, was struggling. His small business had taken a hit, and he was facing a potential foreclosure. He didn't ask me for money, he never did, but my mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Could you help him, David? Just a small loan to get him through the quarter? You have so much." I felt a surge of coldness I didn't recognize. "Mom, if I just give him money, he'll never learn to manage his business. It's a bad investment." "He's your brother," she whispered. "He's not an investment." I walked out. I was so convinced I was being fiscally responsible, but in reality, I was being spiritually bankrupt. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through the massive house I'd bought, looking at the high-end furniture and the silent, empty rooms. I had everything I had ever prayed for, yet I felt more alone and more anxious than when I was broke. I realized I was treating my family like liabilities on a balance sheet. I was calculating the ROI of my relationships. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done since the inheritance hit. I opened my Bible. It fell open to Luke 12:15. Then he said to them, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." Watch out. It was a warning, like a flare in the dark. Jesus followed that verse with a parable of the rich fool, a man who had so much he decided to build bigger barns to store it all, only to die that very night. God called him a fool, not because he was rich, but because he was not rich toward God. I realized I was building bigger barns. My barn was my high-yield savings account and my ego. I had fallen into the trap of believing that my life's value was tied to the abundance of my possessions. I was measuring my worth by my net worth. The conviction hit me like a physical weight. I had become the person I used to mock, the one who had everything but gave nothing. I had allowed Aunt Sarah's gift to become a wall between me and the people I loved. I didn't wait for Monday. I drove to Mark's house that morning. I didn't offer a loan. I told him I wanted to buy a stake in his business, not for a return, but because I believed in him. I wrote the check right there on his kitchen table. "I'm sorry," I told him. "I let the money make me forget who I am." But the transformation had to go deeper than one check. I sat down with my wife and we created a kingdom fund. We decided that for every dollar we spent on our lifestyle, we would give $1 away to our church and local charities. The moment we started giving, the fear started leaving. The grip greed had on my heart loosened the second I opened my hand. I stopped checking the markets every hour. I started looking at people again, not as costs or investments, but as neighbors. I learned that money is a wonderful tool, but a horrible god. When it sits in your hand, it can do good. When it sits on your heart, it will crush you. Today, my bank account is actually smaller than it was 3 years ago, but my life is infinitely larger. I'm rich in the things that actually matter: a brother who trusts me, kids who see their father present instead of distracted, and a soul that isn't tethered to a ledger. If you're chasing that next level of income, ask yourself, what am I willing to pay for it? Don't let your pursuit of a living cost you your life. Guard your heart against greed. Life is found in what you give, not what you hoard. Thanks for watching. Here are today's reflection questions. Have you ever noticed yourself valuing money or possessions more than the people in your life? What was the wake-up call? If your income doubled tomorrow, would it change how you treat others? And would that change be for better or worse? Drop your thoughts about the story in the comments below. Your experience might encourage someone else facing the same choice. If this resonated with you, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe.